It was in early December that a new virus began spreading through the city of Wuhan. Rumours circulated, online at first. For weeks, the authorities kept quiet.
Concerns are growing that a new respiratory virus in the Chinese city of Wuhan could spread rapidly as hundreds of...
By the time the outbreak was confirmed and China started taking serious containment measures, it had spread, first to Southeast Asia and then around the world. At the heart of the battle against this new virus, there's a fundamental tension between openness on the one hand, how much information is being freely shared, and control on the other, how draconian are the measures being taken to contain the spread. In Wuhan, they're taking wartime measures. People rounded up and placed in quarantine. Residents restricted from leaving their homes.
Well, China is using measures that most countries could not use. They've had a complete lockdown of their cities, and they're not permitting people to travel. And certainly, they've slowed down the international travel of persons with this infection. If there will be a major epidemic, it's been delayed.
But in the initial weeks, crucial time was lost. A young doctor who would later contract the virus and die was accused of spreading false information as the authorities tried to play down the outbreak. It's estimated that 5 million people left Wuhan before a lockdown was imposed by the local government.
It's kind of to choose what to tell, and most importantly, to choose what not to tell, and that's precisely what happened. Because they felt in the time of the Chinese New Year is a time of gathering good news, so bad news is such as virus spread, and it will be really affecting their potential political career.
The city of Wuhan has a special place in China's modern history. It was here that Mao Zedong swam across the Yangtze River as he pushed his Great Leap Forward. Millions died, in part because local officials didn't want to report the devastating consequences of his reforms to their party bosses. China is a very different country today, but some old habits persist.
I think this is really an age-old problem within the Chinese political system for many, many years, even well before the Great Leap Forward.
In the UK, the extent of any eventual outbreak will depend, in large part, on what happens in China. But health officials here are busy making contingency plans. The kinds of measures we've been hearing about from public health authorities in the UK, closing down schools, screening people in hospital car parks, they pale into insignificance compared to what's being done in China. Closing down a city of several millions of people would be politically and practically impossible here. What Britain perhaps lacks in its ability to control large populations the way they do in China, we perhaps make up for with more transparency and greater information sharing. We're a long way from an outbreak on the scale of Wuhan, but it's not inconceivable, hence the contingency planning.
There needs to be, over the next 3 weeks, very close observation of what happens outside China, and of course also inside China, to determine whether or not the strategy needs to be transformed into a response which includes continued containment of outbreaks, but also some mitigation activities, which would mean social distancing, closing down public gatherings, things like that, which are already going on in China.
Beijing has sacked the 2 top party officials in Hubei, the province at the centre of the outbreak. The more we know about what's really going on there, the more prepared the UK can be. But for all the precautions, what happens in China, for now, remains the key factor.